Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards, where no ship is safe from being taken down to its nuts and bolts. Alright, it's fair to say that all of y'all are fairly intelligent people. After all, you're listening to and watching this video, and that kind of makes you intelligent right there. So, anyways, you've clearly read the title of this video, so you clearly know where this video is going to go. But let's get some clarification taken care of first. First off, I am not saying that all Star Wars shuttles suck. That said, Star Wars is having a problem with defining the concept of a shuttle. Star Wars has shuttles, transports, and dropships, and they all seem to overlap pretty significantly in their roles, sizes, and capabilities. Instead, I am right now focusing on the type of shuttle that appears throughout the Galactic Empire and the Galactic Republic and the New Order, where their stupid wings fold. Yes, I'm talking about the Delta class from Rogue One, the Zeta class also from Rogue One, the Eta class from Clone Wars, the Theta class from Revenge of the Sith, the Lambda class from the original trilogy, the Nu class also from the Clone Wars, and the Epsilon class from the sequel trilogy. Oh, and let's not forget about the Sentinel class, which is technically a variant of the Lambda class, but for some reason doesn't actually follow the Greek letter naming system of the rest of them because reasons. For some reason, Star Wars loves it some folding wings. And really, it's those wings that's the primary reason that these shuttles suck. First and foremost, none of these shuttles can actually land without having to fold those wings. They literally have to fold those wings before they can even touch down. I guess you could make the argument that the Zeta class could technically land with its wings deployed, since it has 4 wings and they're pretty evenly spaced on its sides, and it seems like maybe if they were load-bearing, which they totally aren't, it might actually be able to land that way, but it's totally not designed to. So congratulations, Scion Fleet Systems and Cygnus Spaceworks. You have successfully created an entire line of shuttles where if they take damage to whatever mechanism raises and lowers their wings, they can't actually land. You could have the Emperor of the Galactic Empire on board one of these stupid shuttles, and if it gets shot in exactly the wrong spot, well, dude, I guess you're going to have to jump? I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for you since you can do it all that crazy force stuff or whatever, right? And it's not like either of these companies actually learn from their mistakes. I mean, the Epsilon command shuttle that Kylo Ren was tooling around in during the sequel trilogy, yeah, that thing not only has folding wings, it has retracting wings. Yes, it dispensed with the fixed dorsal wing that was so common on these types of shuttles, but those 2 outboard wings, they fold out even farther, and then they extend outwards during flight, and they retract when they want to land. Why would you do that? I mean, okay, the folding wings alone is just kind of already but why? The retracting wings, okay, it has to fit in some kind of hangar and some sort of Death Star or Star Destroyer or something, fine. Make the wings that size. You're not actually buying yourself anything by extending the wings outwards. And then there's the problem that these wings don't actually, do anything. I mean, okay, yes, these shuttles are supposed to be capable of making atmospheric landings and takeoffs and so on and so forth, but these wings don't have any control surfaces on them. They have precisely 0 elevators or rudders or ailerons or flaps or anything else that a vehicle that is supposed to be operating in atmosphere would have to help it maneuver in said atmosphere. They're simply massive stabilizers. And you want to know what makes an aircraft really, really hard to maneuver? Massive stabilizers that have no control surfaces on them. These things are basically overgrown lawn darts without the darty bit. It'll keep flying in the straight direction perfectly fine, but no, Emperor, sorry, we can't turn. We're already on approach vector and, well, we just can't turn because there's just so much atmosphere going over our freaking wings. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, if Star Wars paid the slightest nod towards physics and reality and anything else, sure, you could put thrusters out on the tips of the wings and suddenly these shuttles would become the most maneuverable things ever out in space. But Star Wars doesn't care about reality, and it doesn't care about physics, and as far as I can tell, there are not thrusters at the tips of these wings. In fact, more often than not, they put guns at the tips of these wings. Because, nothing makes a starship's guns more accurate than putting it massively off the sight line of the pilot or gunner who's actually trying to operate those guns, and those poor stupid guns have to have these massive amounts of servos to be able to dial in what they're supposed to be being hit because they're so far spread out. And yes, those of you who pay attention to Star Wars might identify that problem on some other ships that are really, really sacred cows that we are eventually going to come back to too. And speaking of guns, it's utterly hysterical how heavily armed these shuttles are, but in totally stupid ways. I mean, the Lambda-class shuttle literally has 8 laser cannons mounted, well, actually 10 laser cannons if you want to be totally accurate, but the problem is 8 of them are pointing forward in more or less fixed positions. And then you've got this poor little retractable double laser cannon turret on the stern. Okay, let's back up for just a hot second. The Lambda-class shuttle is the Imperial shuttle from the original Star Wars trilogy movies. This is basically the Air Force One of the Galactic Empire. This is the vehicle that Lord Vader used to fly around in while he was inspecting the Death Star or getting to his Star Destroyer or doing whatever it was that Sith Lords do. This thing is supposed to, keep him alive and not get jumped out in the middle of the freaking galactic space. And it pretends that it's a dogfighter with 8 forward fixed laser cannons. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Lambda shuttle is actually pretty fast. It's not very nimble, and in comparison to fighters, it is neither fast nor nimble. Why aren't those laser cannons in turrets? Why isn't there a bigger stern turret simply because this thing should be running away more often than it should be engaging anything? Because really, if you're actually trying to use a shuttle in a dogfight, you have done something massively, massively wrong. And that kind of brings us to the biggest kind of problem with these kinds of shuttles. And it maybe calls too much into current physics and current understandings of reality for Star Wars, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. Because the topic is basically something called radar cross-section. If you zap something with a radar beam, how much of that energy is going to come back to you? This is basically the premise of stealth fighters and stealth bombers, in that their whole point of existence is deflecting as much of that radar energy in the wrong direction as possible. They want that radar shot to come from the emitter, bounce off them, and not go back to the emitter. Because if the radar beam never actually gets back to the emitter, then the radar system has no idea where that aircraft is. Now, we can't actually achieve perfect 100% stealth, but what we can achieve is kind of terrifying when you think about it. But the point is, I don't know how Star Wars sensors work. I assume there's some kind of active system that sends out some sort of energy pulse and returns back what it can detect. And if that is the case, these shuttles are massive return signatures. They're ridiculously huge. When you look at these silly shuttles, the actual part of them that's actually important is tiny. And then you have this massive sail area attached to it. But why, though? I mean, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't gain you anything. There's no utility in it. But boy, if someone were to send out an active pulse of radar, they would get a solid hit on you. Which kind of seems unfortunate for a vehicle that is meant to carry, dignitaries and important equipment and important materials and so on and so forth. And even if Star Wars sensors don't work on the active pulse return concept as we understand of for radar right now, the fact of the matter is these shuttles have a massive target area. These wings, when they're folded out, make the vehicle much, much larger, which makes it much, much more susceptible to being shot. Again, one of these things actually served as the Air Force One equivalent for the Empire. It's almost kind of like they wanted Darth Vader to get shot down. I mean, maybe they did, but that certainly wasn't the kind of thing you admitted out in the public in the Galactic Empire, because, force choking bad. And as if these jokes of a shuttle couldn't get any worse, apparently the entire line of them isn't actually called the Greek shuttles like I called them because of their nomenclature and their use of the Greek letters. Oh no, this whole line of shuttles is called the Abecederian line. Abecederian. If I wrote a joke that bad, y'all would laugh me out of my own channel. But apparently that is the official canonical name for this line of shuttles, according to Wikipedia Online. So, yay? Now, in fairness, there are a few glimmers of hope, and I do use that term with full irony implied, given who uses these shuttles the most often, for this line of shuttles. Notably, the Zeta class has the same kind of modular capabilities as the ISSCV from Space Above and Beyond that we talked about last week. It can also have a cargo container underneath it that it can drop off, and it can be used for other things while the shuttle goes off and does other things. So at least someone thought about that particular aspect at some point somewhere in this design process. And apparently the new class, despite having the most stupid cockpit design I have ever seen, I'm not even joking about this, apparently the pilots sit on these little retractable seats that actually drop down into the loading ramp area of the shuttle when the shuttle needs to be offloaded. Because, I mean, really, if you want anything in the way of the offload ramp, yeah, let's have some kind of hydraulic lift to get the shuttle pilots back into their cockpit. Why would you do that? Anyways, the new class also has a cargo pod that can be slung underneath it and dropped off in situations where you need cargo pod drop off. So again, they thought about modularity in some degree. Good for them. Likewise, the Sentinel class assault shuttle is actually kind of a cool ship. It is actually meant for a hot landing in a hot zone where the shuttle is being shot at and bad things are happening around it. And they simplified the wing system and they made the cargo bay a little bigger. And there's even an optimized version that does in fact have a cargo pod drop section that is available to it. So it's like someone tried to make what was a really stupid idea better, but they could only do so much. So no, Star Wars fanboys, I am not going to back down on this. The Abecederian line of shuttles is singularly stupid. There are shuttle designs that work well. We've talked about shuttle designs that work well. I will probably find other shuttle designs that work well. In fact, there are other shuttle designs in Star Wars that work well. This is not one of them. This one just makes no sense. It puts every occupant of that shuttle at risk in a variety of totally unnecessary ways, aside from, hey, it looks cool. Great. It's a frickin' death trap. Enjoy that. And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the dock for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube. Have a good day.